So I was an AmeriCorps member for 4 years, and that just ended this January. So I started this project to try to get the community to take on board. So I actually bought 600 bags from Lou and tried to distribute those to the local businesses to kind of create a grassroots movement to get some agency effort. And then I went to the Sustainable Summits in 2014, and Roger Robinson introduced me to Doug Whitaker. I don't know if any of you remember him, but he encouraged me to go on and get my master's so that I would have some work behind me to keep going. And he helped me through this process. So now I'm at the stage of approaching the agencies again and seeing what we can do together. Historically, there was a toilet there in the 80s, and the user groups burned it down. The local community hosts an event there every year, and they found the hinges from the door in a fire pit. And nobody wants to take control over this piece of land. There's 3 different managing agencies, and I've been sent from each one to the other saying, it's not our problem, go to them.
Yeah, well, the answer to your first question, I mean, there's a lot that is potentially positive, and I don't actually think it's very difficult to change what's going on Everest. It's actually just getting buy-in from the various groups who are there, which effectively has to come down to the government supporting the corrective initiatives. But our issue over there, of course, is that we don't want additional regulation, because it seems that every time there is additional regulation applied, that it's either abused or it leads to corruption. And that's why there's been a lot of resistance from the user groups for more regulation, even though it might have good meaning in the first place. And one of these that they're proposing at the moment is that people should have to climb a 7,000 metre peak within Nepal before they can go onto Everest. Well, actually, most of the 7,000 metre peaks within Nepal are way more dangerous and more difficult than the 8,000 metre peaks. And I don't necessarily think that somebody who's climbed an 8,000 metre peak in Tibet shouldn't be able to climb an Everest in Nepal, even though they've not climbed a 7,000 metre peak in Nepal. So from that perspective, I think we have to be careful with regulation, and that's what I'm saying. In some areas it works, in other areas it doesn't, depending on how close the regulation is to the motivations of the user groups. Now, regarding your second question, a couple of years ago there were around 430 people, Westerners, on Everest. The number of local people is not included in the count that we get, so we can never know the total number of people on the mountain. And this year, that number was down to, I think, about 379, probably based on the issues with the avalanche and the icefall in 2014 and the earthquake. So numbers have been down a little, relatively static. Number of expeditions is a little bit erroneous these days, because you never know how many people are in an expedition. And there's a lot of operators who will combine groups of people to make up one expedition. So if we look at total numbers, it seems to be relatively static. No, I've never actually experienced that, Sam. Most of the places we go, people encompass it because they're somehow involved in the industry. So I think there are some places we go where there isn't a local population per se in the mountain areas. Nepal, of course, is the place that we go where the people are living right within the mountains. Obviously, you go to Antarctica, there's no one. Go to Denali, the people are living a long way from the mountain, and so on and so forth. So I generally think that everywhere I have been, to every mountain environment, we've been welcomed, even in countries that might be at war with the West. The mountain people still seem to want to connect.
Snapshot, we are putting more toilets in this summer, and we're looking at some alternative, innovative ideas as well in regards to human waste management. So that's what we're doing there. In regards to, we've got an acronym. We've got the total price per poo, the TPP, and on the Tongariro Alpine Crossing. Sorry, Harry, I stole your line there, but works out to be about $1. Is that correct? A dollar a turd. Yep. So we are putting more toilets in this summer. There is already toilets there. We're going to increase the capacity of them. So there is plans and action's going to happen. I think we're in a good space right now. We know that settlement's on the horizon, potentially 18 months out. I think this sends a pretty clear signal, the fact that we've all done a hikoi from Tongariro down to here with Department of Conservation and the local tangata whenua. The fact that we've got all 4 hapu tribe, iwi, to sit in the bus for 2 days and discuss many treaty settlement issues and come up with lots of solutions. I think it's a pretty big symbol. We've definitely done a lot of capacity building over the last 5 years, and we've definitely taken all tribe on the journey with us. So I'm confident that the values are the same. I'm confident that the new management plan that will be written within the next 2 to 3 years will reflect that. And settlement will be seamless. You probably won't even notice it happened. Yeah. You want to add any comment?
I was just going to add, and thanks for bringing that up because it's a key part of what we're thinking. And I was just going to just add what Paul mentioned around the National Park Plan is up for amendment. That's probably just going to hang around for settlement and potentially do it at the same time. But a really good opportunity for us to place the lens over those values more, probably amongst a few other things that could come out of the amendment as well and the settlement.
Yeah, and just to mention from Tuwharetoa's point of view, so definitely will be a much better process than the last time. Just trying to think back in 2006, Paramount Chief of Tuwharetoa was still on the World Heritage. He was the chairman of the World Heritage at the time. I would probably have preferred to see his signature on the document. Not that I got anything against the conservator in that, but I think it would have showed a lot stronger message of actually doing it in a true partnership and that. So yeah, I think there will be a lot better, brighter future.